Hey folks, I'm Raymond and welcome to Fireside Meeple. This is a bit of an unboxing, bit of a walkthrough and talk through of Dark Providence, Cthulhu Dark Providence, to give it its full title. And of course this did come as I pre-ordered it, and it finally arrived with the Dark Providence Investigators. So let's come down to the table and have a look and see what we're going to get in this content. So give you an idea of the size of the actual Dark Providence box. It's quite a nice little size. I was surprised, maybe pleasantly, not too sure. Anyway, I was surprised how small and compact it is. It's not necessarily a bad thing, right? It does carry quite a punch. I'm yet to play it multiplayer, but I have been playing it solo, but I'll dig into more of that as we go. And then these are the Dark Providence Investigators that you actually get to play in the game. So the so when you play the game, you'll choose an investigator deck of cards. That is your starter deck. It is very much a deck builder, so that's your starter deck. Everyone has the same, but you'll select an agent Monday or through to Friday. So they are the agents that are included in here. So let's dig into here first of all. So you will see this is not yet opened. This is still very much sealed. So we'll dig into here. Now I'm hoping my green screen is going to work. I did check it moments ago, and then I came and sat down and did a camera test and it didn't work, and I went back and checked it again and it was working again. So we'll see if it's going to play this time. Okay, Dark Providence Investigators. At least these cameras are working and the audio is working, so that's good. Okay, so humans, frail and vulnerable, may resort to desperate acts to survive. In the shadowy realms of Dark Providence, once fearless investigators may succumb to exploiting a nation's weaknesses for gain. Yet, in a other realm, interesting choice of words, where even death may die, these five souls may remain incorruptible, united against unspeakable beings. Of course, this is alluding to the fact that when you play in the actual Dark Providence game, you get there's a hidden role component to it. So unlike Cthulhu Death May Die, where we're all playing investigators, we're all cooperating, working together to overcome and defeat the Elder Ones, the Dark Providence means you could actually be playing as a cultist, trying to empower and unleash the Elder Ones upon the world, or indeed as an investigator. And there's a couple of the roles as well in there. So let's dig into this. Apologies, a bit of a flit back and forth between the content that we have. So here we go. So we have Agent Monday. I know what I'm doing as it happens. I think that's the worst part. Okay, so Frightful Coercion is his special power. And we have the traditional season 1 through 4 skills being shared here for these. So Frightful Coercion, on level 1, after you run, you may push one cultist in your space, one space away. When you get to level 2, after you push a cultist, deal 2 wounds to another enemy in that cultist's space. Okay. Interesting wording. I'm thinking, is that in the cultist space where they currently are, or in the cultist space where you've just pushed them to? It's after you push in that cultist space. So I would presume it's where you've pushed the cultist to. You've shoved him into someone else. Level 3, after you push a cultist, heal 2 stress. I'm guessing that's as well. It would normally then say and heal 2 stress, but that's fine. Okay, and then the final one, after the draw Mythos card phase of your turn, push each cultist in your space 1 space away. So potentially you can barge them around and yeah, give them a really good time or a hard time, and also of course then be dealing lots of damage to other stuff that's trying to get at you. So that's quite useful. Okay. And of course, as always, you do get a bit of a backstory. So he is from Boston, Massachusetts, a killer, a murderer, a walking nightmare. That's Monday. His reign of terror across the eastern seaboard in the United States is the stuff of horror stories. Until one day, the killings simply stopped. He's sick, and he knows it, but cannot help himself. However, cultists can be killed without consequence. The team needed someone like him, one who causes the very horrors of the beyond to quake in terror. Let them experience dread at the sight of his straight black tie and dead, cold stare. So there we go. So that is Agent Monday. So who else do we have? We have Agent Tuesday. What an exquisite brooch from ancient Mesopotamia, you say? Tell me more, darling. So smooth talker is her special skill. If there is only one cultist in your space, I'm just going to move this camera down a bit so we can see a bit better. There we go. Oh, is that going to stick? I've got a spring-loaded arm. And it's just going to spring back. Okay. That would have worked. It's at least it's closer than it was. Okay. So if there is only one cultist in your space and no other enemies, you are considered in a safe space. Level 2, once per turn, you may perform a free action if there is at least one cultist in your space. Okay. Level 3, once per turn as a free action, heal 1 stress for each cultist within one space. And level 4, if there is only one cultist in your space, you are considered in a safe space. So again, very much around the cultists, as Dark Providence is, very much interacting with the cultists. Okay, so from New York City, USA, vapid, shallow and snobbish are the ways one might describe the heiress to a family fortune. But then this is the image Agent Tuesday wants to convey. In the team, she serves the role of targeter and faceman. These are the few. There are few who can resist her coy smile, lavish compliments, and smooth flow of talk. She calls alcohol her secret weapon, having developed a phenomenal tolerance, a talent for drink, as she puts it, being able to consume far more than should be possible for a person of her size. Okay, so that is Agent Tuesday. Moving on into Agent Wednesday, the truths were exposed to should never be known, except by me, of course. So, delay chaos. It's Agent Wednesday's special skill. So, start the game with your spell token. So, I imagine we'll see that in here. When you draw a Mythos card, and you may choose to activate your spell if possible. At level 2, you may activate your spell when any investigator draws a Mythos card. At level 3, when you activate your spell, heal 2 stress as well. And at level 4, when you activate your spell, also put the Mythos card at the bottom of the deck. Nice. Okay. Interesting. So he is from Jakarta, Indonesia. So while Friday put together the team, it was Wednesday who conceived the idea. The experience built a lifelong bond between the two, though they are as far apart in appearance, politics and habits as one can imagine. Bookish and insightful, one wouldn't think Wednesday to be dangerous, yet his mind manners belie a killer instinct and an arcane arsenal. Though he specialises in words and bonds, Wednesday can kill with a word, banish terrors back to the dark, and bring weak minds to heal. So I'm guessing that's an inkling as to what his spell does. Okay, and we have Agent Thursday. Nature has existed alongside these creatures for longer than man. Heed its warnings. So unnatural knowledge is her special power. You have 1 free reroll when attacking or being attacked by a monster. Nice. When attacking a monster, you may count the results of a single dice twice. You have one additional, so level 3, you have additional free reroll when attacking or being attacked by a monster, so 2 in total. And then level 4, the previous levels of this skill apply for any enemy. Okay. So Agent Thursday from Levere, France. The professor's encounter with a supernatural infestation deep in the Carpathian Mountains forever changed how she viewed the universe and mankind's place in it. Mankind cannot coexist with the horrors of the cosmos. For the team she leads in the hinterlands, where cultists often perform their profane rites. Animals love her. Once she even petted a hungry tiger in India, feeding it from the palm of her hand. Animals that do not respond to her always have some supernatural and dangerous aspect. Interesting. Okay. And then last but not least, Agent Friday. Any got no more, Gov. Think that makes your chances better or worse? Secret information is his key skill. So once per turn, as a free action, give 1 tip from the pool to another investigator in your space. Give a tip. Okay, so we'll see presumably what that is. Instead, give 1 tip to any investigator in your space. If you give it to someone else, also gain 1 tip. When you use this skill, each investigator who receives a tip heals 2 stress. And then finally at level 4, when any investigator uses a tip, they perform all the listed effects twice in any order. Okay, interesting. So he is from London, England. As a former inspector, Friday has seen evil, but he always had a human face, human motivations and human means. His cynicism for his fellow man had grown to epic depths, so much so that he lived half inside a bottle for a good part of his career, until he came face to face with cultists of the King in Yellow. He threw away the bottle, put his razor-sharp mind to work and made plans. His job has become directing the day toolers, the ragtag band of investigators he's built in their operations against mankind's deadliest foes. Okay, so let's have a look. We have, see if we can get the green screen working. Oh, it's looking like it might work. So we have a spell. Nice. Okay, I feel like it's quite far away. There we go. Let's try and move that one down as well. Can we read that? Is that coming up? So that one is spring loaded, but is a bit more directional. Oop. A little bit. Okay. So spell. So when activated, flip this token and cancel the Mythos Cards special effects and enemy summoning. So that's very nice. I like that. So Arcane Exhaustion. Enemies attacking you gain 2 green. When the Elder One advances, flip back this token. Ooh. So yeah, so you do get a bit of a bite when you do decide to use that one. So in addition to that, we have Friday's tips. Okay, so let's see the effects when we turn these over. Are they all the same? Oh, there we go. They look like they could well be. Yes, I think they are. Okay, so discard as a free action to perform one of the following. Move up to 2 spaces, heal 2 stress, deal 1 wound to an enemy in your space. So they're all the same. And as you saw, when Friday gets to his last level, those tips apply in full. So you get to do all of those abilities, and he gains a tip back as well. So that's really tasty. I like that. Okay, and then we have 5 miniatures, and that is a lot. So let's have a look. Are they taped? Of course they are taped. They look good though. Oh, like that a lot. Okay, so let's cut away the tape. We can dig in. Yeah, such crisp quality on these miniatures as always. There we go. See, they appear on the green screen. Yeah. Oh, that didn't go well, did it? There we go. Okay, we'll turn the green screen off then. Excellent. Look at that. Okay, so this is Agent Monday with his gun and his coat over his shoulder. No idea what these guys look like. Do like their sculpts. Always stunning detail. Okay, the pelt. Whoops, there we go. I did wonder at first in the picture if it was an animal pelt, but no, appears not. Let's see, there you go. So you can see her card. Yeah, so that's Tuesday. We have Agent Wednesday. There he is. What's he got in his hand? Is that a notebook and pen? Oh, I love that. I just love that detail. And there's just the little creases and stuff in the cloak. Brilliant. Excellent job. Reaching in to grab his gun. Love it. We have Agent Thursday. I mean, they've captured, you know, those images. They've captured so well on these sculpts. Just done a fantastic job. There's a backpack or knapsack. She's got a knife by her side, gun drawn, and of course then the binoculars in her hands. So good. And last but not least, we have Agent Friday. Here it is. So good. Now, I continue to be thoroughly impressed, and just the detail on that face as well. So beautiful. So beautiful. Thoroughly impressed as always. Great bunch of miniatures, some interesting new powers. Keen to see what they bring to the game of Cthulhu Death May Die. There we go. Let's lock those in and pop those away. Okay, so that is the Dark Providence Investigators that you get to play in Cthulhu Death May Die, which is just up here behind me over my left shoulder. And then we have Cthulhu Dark Providence. So this is not a Death May Die game or expansion. This is very much a standalone game set in the universe of Cthulhu Death May Die. It is actually the 3rd edition of an original game that was created by Martin Wallace way back when, the 1st edition, which was a Study in Emerald, I believe. And then he did do a revamped version, a 2nd edition of that. This is effectively the 3rd edition now of that game. By all accounts, with Travis Chance becoming engaged and supporting in the production and development of this game, working with Martin Wallace and bringing in that Cthulhu Death May Die. So the original iterations kind of alluded to sort of the Cthulhu universe. This is very much blatant. Okay, we know it's here. This is what we are dealing with, right? And I love that. It is a kind of natural development. But by all accounts, what I heard listening to No, Mike Delisio, his name almost evaded me. Mike Delisio, was that he really appreciated the fact that actually it goes back, it harkens very much back to the original guise of the game. A lot of the original elements and components that were there and were kind of dropped in the process of trying to streamline the game in the second edition have been sort of re-injected back into this in a good way. So really excited about that. Now then, I have put this lid on the wrong way around, so apologies for those OCD kicking in. Right, so this is the back. I have had this open, so this is not going to be an unboxing per se. But I will show you, obviously, the contents of the box, as well as the components that come with it as well. I've cleared out some of the bits, but we'll go through that. So, Dark Providence. The Elder Ones wield influence over familiar realms populated by nations speaking human tongues and haunted by shared nightmares. Across one such reality, amidst America's Great Depression, they exploit human greed to sow discord and division. Corruption runs rampant in influential cities where alliances shift and betrayal lurks at every turn. Okay, so this is very much a board game in its truest sense, and a kind of there's a bit of a kind of worker placement element to it. Yeah, it's interesting. So it says, Cthulhu Dark Providence is a competitive board game where players are secretly divided into different sides of conflict over the destiny of a nation on the brink of ruin. Players use their influence to bid for the right to claim assets, take control of cities, and consort with powerful mythos entities. To maintain their sanity and secrecy, players perform various actions such as recruiting agents, eliminating rivals, blocking opponents, and closing and opening portals and gates to otherworldly dimensions to advance their agenda and earn points. Despite being divided into opposing sides, only the player with the highest score from the leading faction will achieve victory and shape the fate of the nation. Really good. 1 to 5 players. Obviously, we've got those 5 agents in there Monday through Friday. Now then, when I open this up, like I say, I have had this out, but it'll give you an idea of what we get. So, starting as always with the rulebook, which would of course normally be on the top of the box anyway. It's not a significantly substantial rulebook. It's 24 pages. Now, that does include in it a where are we at? So 6 pages worth almost. So about 5 pages worth of the solo mode. Okay, so unfortunately, in typical fashion, it does give you the sort of the typical, you know, when you're playing solo, perform the usual setup and then apply these modifiers, which is always a bit annoying, but whatever. So you would go through your normal setup and then you would apply these modifiers. I've played this 3 times now solo, and the setup actually is ridiculously simple. Everything about this game is ridiculously simple. I mean, so you think there's 17 other pages in here. As you can see, a lot of that space is consumed by some really clear, good examples with lots of graphics, which is great, really helpful. I mean, here, this is an entire page dedicated to an example of gameplay. So it takes you through the game end. There's some nice, pretty pictures, as you would expect, similar to that Cthulhu Death May Die layout. It goes through, yeah, I don't know exactly what it was. So as I say, you've got these kind of quarter page size illustrations with great examples of how everything works, that it's telling you about. And it works really, really well. It just felt, and I'm not entirely sure, but it just felt hard work to go through the rules. I can't figure out, I can't put my finger on it. But there it is. So we've got the setup. It goes through your agents, your cards, your different boards, and of course then your components that come in the box, as well as a table of contents. In typical fashion, there is not an index, but it does give you a summary on the back. Just ends in credits. So it does give you a summary of sort of the different actions that you'll be taking on the back. And it does give you some very useful player reference cards, so they work well. Now, I've left this in here. It comes with these little kind of cradles, if you like. So this is the base of a cradle, and I've tossed the other bits just to the side. I've actually 3D printed out hard copies of these now, but it does, if you choose to use what comes in the box, it does give you a useful insert that each of those cradles will sit in. So once you've punched them all out and you've glued them together, they do fall apart quite readily if you don't glue them together, so that is not an option. And I think the fact that they've given you the space to store them all glued together, I think that is very much the clue, right? The intention is that you'd punch them all out, you'd glue them all together, they are there then permanently for you to use from game to game. I've got no issue with them, I quite like them, but having a 3D printer, I have 3D printed all of the different colours. You get purple, red, blue, yellow and white. Each of these have then their own cubes. So these are influence cubes that you'll be putting out on the board to claim assets, as you heard. So yeah, so they're kind of almost a bit of a black for the white player. Yeah, some nuances. The yellow players' cubes are actually orange. So yeah, some weird stuff there. But whatever, you know, they're easily distinguishable in terms of the red, purple, white, blue, and yellow. And then each player also has their own set of influence tokens. You see, you've got the white and the blue. Sorry, not influence tokens, these are claim tokens. So you would put these out on the board to indicate you've claimed whatever it is that you are after. So the way it works is every player will have, I'm going to struggle to find one now, aren't I? Oh no, they're in here. They're in here. I've bagged all the agents individually, so you can see each agent has a deck of 10 cards. So these are all sleeve ready to play, and they have a little agent piece, as you can see there in the bag, and that is what you'll pop that out onto the board in one of these cradles. So if you buy in the base game, you'll get those as a piece of card that you'll make. I found this is a 3D design online, somebody already made and published. So these are nice little Cthulhu-esque 3D bits, and you just pop your agent in there, and then that's how you'll move that around the board. But it means it's easy to identify not only your core agent, but of course anyone else's agents. And as you're going through, as it says, you've got to be recruiting agents, right? So as you recruit other agents, you have a number of these. You can have a maximum of 6, including your own agent, and they are there to support you in maneuvering around the game. Now, I struggled first of all when I got this out and started playing. Oh, I've got some cards spattering around the place. So let's have a look at the board. So that's the reverse of the board. It's a nice little picture. It's not double-sided. And this is the correct way around for the board. So if I move my camera back up now, you get to see that in full. There we go. Okay. So this is the board where you're going to be playing. And in fact, let's just, for an example, this is then the agent token. White's a bit difficult to see, isn't it? Apologies. Let's go with something a bit more colourful. There we go. We'll go red. Okay. So I hope that's a bit more visible. So red would be your player colour, for example, and you'd have an agent that you've opted to play with. Let's see, have I got an agent available? I have. So in this case, I've got Agent Friday. So everyone will have a deck of cards, as I mentioned. So you'll get a playing card in this example, and what you're looking for here on this card is this little icon here. So this is to use an influence token. Now this might be to put out an influence token on the board, or it might be to claim back influence tokens that have been spent. Yeah, and I'll demonstrate in a moment. So you get those. You get gold that can be used to travel around the cityscape, and they can also be used to buy more influence tokens. So everyone starts with, I believe it is 7 influence tokens to begin the game, and then you have power. And what the power is used for is for basically kind of challenging the city's power. So if you imagine you go to New York City has a power rating of 6. So if you want to open or close the portal there, you're going to have to challenge the power rating, which is effectively represents their kind of law enforcement, how easy it is to do stuff there, how powerful is their law enforcement, and therefore for you to get away with opening or closing gates. And likewise, if you want to assassinate somebody, and some of these cards will have, like this one here, multiple icons, but when you play that card, you will have to choose what do you want to use it for. Are you going to use it for power, or are you going to use it for influence? So some of these have got, as you can see, a single icon, others have got double. So you do get these interesting scenarios throughout the game where you are going to have to make those choices as to how you're going to use those cards. Now, one of these cards that I've put down already, the one with the double power, has a special ability, an action that when you play that card, you can take that action. So when Agent Friday plays this card, he can either assassinate, which is a skull, or close a portal in a city space where your main agent is. Okay, so it can't be used for any other agent. It has to be where your main agent is. And then you obliterate this card. So this card is then removed from the game. So you don't get to use this card anymore. It's one and done. Okay, in the meantime, you can use it for power. Now, because as I mentioned, if you want to assassinate or close a gate, you have to use power. You can't use the action on a card and the icons on a card, so you have to choose. So if I'm playing this to assassinate someone or close a gate, I can't then also use that power to work towards, so for example, New York City with 6 power, I can't use those power to contribute towards that. So that's something else to be aware of, which is really nice balancing element to the game. And then there is this this card that will come around again and again for everyone, which is an action which is to place or remove a lock, and that is certainly in the solo game ridiculously useful, because it's all about controlling of course the Elder One and his cultists, or its cultists, as they move around the board trying to do their stuff. Okay, now we do have right, that's mine, and these are the others. Okay, so as I mentioned, as you start the game in multiplayer mode, so in solo mode, the only way to play the game is as an investigator. So effectively, you're a good guy and you're out trying to shut down the bad guys. Okay, so you're the investigator. Oh, that's why I haven't got his card, because it's in this bag with all the other agents. Right. So there are. Okay, let's just see if this works. Okay, so there are a number of allegiance cards. So everyone will be dealt these cards at the beginning of the game when you're playing multiplayer. And these allegiance cards are, you are either an investigator, and you have 2 of those. You are a cultist, and there are 2 of those. Apologies, that's a green card, hence that's not quite showing up there. There we go, a cultist. Or you could have a dissident investigator. So if your allegiance is revealed, you lose 3 points at the end of the game. Or you could be a dissident cultist, and the way that they earn points in the game is slightly different if you're a dissident versus a regular, if you like. But again, it was something that was picked up as being really interesting, because in the original game you would either be a cultist or an investigator. This then adds an additional element, and you're effectively then a party of one. You're not working in cahoots with someone else. Now there is an interesting twist in a multiplayer game. So alongside this board, there is, if I pull it out here, the score track as well. just clear those bits out of the way. So this score track that sits at the side of the board, whoops, put that underneath, there we go, okay, is where you'll be doing then a whole bunch of other sort of accounting, if you like, and stuff. So each of these tracks then that you see here that are pink and green, pink is for the investigators and their sort of power and influence, if you like, over the world. So they will have a chit that'll be moving up, and as it moves up there are bands of XP that apply to both cultists and investigators. So that's why you will want to undertake actions that push this up. So when it talks about if you are the kind of the leading power of influence, so whether that be cultist or investigator, then when you end the game, so the game could be triggered as an end point when you get to the end here, and then that's there are these extra victory point bands, so 2, 4, 6, 9, and then 12. So if you get to the end there, that's an additional 12 victory points you will score at the end of the game. So your chances are your party will be the winners. Now there is an interesting twist, as I mentioned. If there are 2 cultists or 2 investigators, and you've got to try and work out as you're playing through the game, and usually about halfway through, I've got the impression it's fairly obvious because people are closing gates, opening gates, meddling with mythos, trying to go insane, etc., or not. So usually it's fairly obvious. If for example I managed to get 24 points and I'm a cultist and I'm up here and we've triggered the end game, but actually my colleague cultist is down at 6 points, and other people have got more points than them because they're at the bottom, both of us, our team, gets eliminated. We will not win the game, and it will then defer back to the next person with the most points. So yeah, there's an interesting twist to that. I haven't played multiplayer yet, so I don't know in reality how that's going to work, but I've heard it's quite interesting. So yeah, looking forward to as I say, I had to read through all the multiplayer rules before being able to start to figure out the solo play rules. When you play solo, everything that applies to you as a player when you're playing multiplayer applies exactly the same. But for solo play, there is an AI bot that is represented by an Elder One, and they have specific abilities. There's a bunch of different Elder Ones, and each one has their own abilities as to how they're trying to win the game, if you will. And then they're aided by a cultist, or in fact 2 cultists, who are also have their own agent cultists out moving around the board. So there's a mechanisms around how they move, when they move, the actions that so there's a deck of cards that controls what they're doing. So the actions that they undertake in the main part will be the same every time you play it solo, but effectively they'll be doing the same as you in terms of either trying to claim cities, open portals, take asset cards from cities, claim Mythos cards, which will be over here just off to the side, and all those things will be gaining them victory points, and you'll be trying to compete with them against that victory point. So if you get down here to 35 victory points, the end game is triggered. If they reach up here to 12 on the cultist track, the end game is triggered. If you're playing multiplayer, there are these different coloured points here that indicate, so if you're playing a 5-player game, it's 22 points, triggers the end game. In a 4-player game, 26, in a 3-game game, 30, and a 2-player game, 33. For solo play, it's 35 points. There are potentially points where you might go into negative, so there is a small level of negative points down here. And I mentioned one of the things that can occur in the game is having an agent assassinated. Now, as a player, you can't have your primary agent assassinated unless you have scored 5 victory points. So when you're first setting out in the game, there's no risk of that happening. And if you have any other agents on the board that are in your control, your primary agent can't be assassinated until they're all taken off of the board. So that is something else that a nice mechanism, I think, personally, that helps to control and manage and maintain that. So there's Friday's Investigator. So let's put his in there. There we go. So there's his agent sat in his little cradle. There you go. Nice little 3D printed. And like I say, I've got 5 other of these. So as you play through the game and he recruits other agents, they'll all go in that cradle, and we know, those agents belong to my. I'm playing those agents, right? So the gist of the game is then you're going to be moving around the board, and you only need to be physically in a city if you're going to be trying to close a gate, because you need an agent there to physically close that gate. Or if you're going to assassinate another agent, you need to physically be there to assassinate another agent. This took me a bit to get my head around. If you want to put influence out, so I showed you could put a card down that says you could put influence tokens out. As I say, you start with 7 influence tokens. So if I wanted to, if I put a card down that says I can put in 3 influence tokens, for example, I put 3 cards down, and because there's an asset that I really want, I could put those 3 out on that asset, and then I can also say, and I want to put some influence out, another 2 influence to try and claim this city of Boston. Okay, less likely, but okay. So when it comes back round to my turn, if no one else has put any influence on here, or haven't managed to either equal my influence or beat my influence, I then get to claim. Now you can only claim one thing on your turn. So I can claim either the city or that asset card. If I claim it, those influence go to limbo. Anyone else's influence that was already on there, so maybe I was competing with somebody else, their influence will go back to them, so they get to use that again. But it's effectively kind of locked whilst it's there by bidding for that article. And then I'd have to play more influence cards to get those influence back out of limbo and back into my hand, if you will, so I can then use them again on a future turn. But there's no amounts for influence, which is one of the things, again, that Mike D'Alicio really liked about this game, is although there is absolutely a bidding war in terms of controlling what's happening here on the board, so either controlling cities or claiming assets that are either agents or give you bonuses, and the asset cards will go into your deck. They then form part of your deck. Some of those cards, as we've already seen with your base card deck, will have an obliterate action. So when you use it, it's a one and done. You use it and it's gone, removed from the game forever. A lot of those cards will keep going round and round and round. When you claim a city, each city will have a card representing that city. So when you claim that city, you'll also get a card that will be added to your discard pile, eventually shuffle back in and added to your deck as you play. It's an interesting one, I find, with the cities, because I find generally the cities are weaker compared to, certainly in solo play, they are weaker compared to the assets that I'm trying to gain. And I find actually, in general, in solo play, these tend to clog your hand, as opposed to the assets that you've enlisted specifically to undertake particular tasks throughout the game to overcome the cultists, to control and minimize the influence of the Elder One over the city. So that gives you an idea then how the influence tokens work. You can be putting out there and bidding, and in addition to those, then there are, as I mentioned, these Mythos cards. So let me just show you as well. It does do a very good job of giving you some excellent reference cards. In fact, there's quite a bit of green on there, so let's just there we go. Some excellent reference cards. So on one side, you've got all your different icons. So you can see you've got power, you've got wealth for traveling around and buying more influence. You've got these locks that you could put out. So you could put that out on a card in order to prevent someone or anyone from taking it, although they may then play a card to unlock it. So they're not sort of player specific. You've got influence, assassinate, you've got sanity, so there are actions that will cause you to draw tokens from a bag. I'll show you that in a moment. You could close gates and open gates. That's one of those things that mean you draw tokens from a bag. And of course you can, as I've said before, influence the investigator track and the ritual track for cultists. There are some specific agent icons as well. So these are player agents in terms of there's Harry Houdini, who cannot be assassinated. There is Alice Orcs, who adds 2 agent influence instead of 1. So if she's in an area that you're trying to influence, if any agent is in an area that you're trying to influence, you get +1 influence, but she adds 2 instead. And then Lillian LaFrance travels to an adjacent city without paying the travel cost once per turn. So that can be quite nice, particularly if you're in a city location. So most of the city locations only require 1 wealth to travel. There are occasion ones like Detroit to Boston that require 2 wealth to travel. I don't think there's any more than that. So yeah, so you have to try and map your way across. If you want to send someone to, like I say, assassinate someone or close a portal, then you have to bear that in mind, and that's what you're going to be using your wealth for, as well as getting those influence tokens. And then on the flip side of this, then we have the actions that you can do on your turn. So a lot of these I've talked through already. So you can add influence, so add the amount of influence played on your primary asset cards. When you play a card, there's an influence token that will tell you how much influence you can add, and you can add that to either a primary asset card, so that's an asset card that's out here on the board, a city space as I demonstrated, or a Mythos card, which we'll have a look at in a moment. You can claim, so first action only on your turns. You get 2 actions on your turn. So the first one is the only time you get to claim, so you can claim a card or a city where you have the most influence. Okay, and then you can carry on with the rest of your turn. You get 1 other action. You can retrieve influence, so again you'd have to play that number of influence in order to retrieve it, and you retrieve it from anywhere, so anywhere out on the board or from limbo. I don't think I've ever claimed influence from the board only for limbo, but again it could well be different when you're playing multiplayer. You can buy influence, so as I say, 2 wealth buys you 1 influence cubes. You can travel, so you spend wealth to travel. You can manipulate the ritual investigation tracks, again as I mentioned. Yeah, so when you play cards that have these chevrons going up or down, green and red or pink, they will manipulate those tracks as an end game trigger. You have the card actions, so as you saw, you can perform an action that's actually effect that's written on the card. You can discard cards, so as an action you can discard any number of asset cards from your hand. I did notice there's a number of cards that specifically say if you discard this card, you instantly, for example, lose victory points. So yeah, there's a number of those interesting little gotchas in there as well. You can reveal your allegiance card, so there may be a particular reason why in the game you sort of looked at the victory point track and you think, do you know what, yeah, I'm done, we've won this, we've got it in the bag, there's no way anyone's going to catch up to us. We're then going to reveal your allegiance card, and then you would score VP. Now obviously you won't get the victory points for having not revealed, so if you get to the end of the game and you haven't revealed your allegiance card, you get an extra 3 victory points. If you have revealed, you don't get any victory points, as you saw with the Dissident? Something like that. They're in here. Dissident. There you go, not decadent. Dissident. So Dissident, Investigator, or Cultist, you will lose 3 victory points at the end of the game if this card is revealed. So remember I said that when I was showing you those. So that applies to both of them. That's the disadvantage of being the Dissident. So that comes into effect. But the idea is then to try and trigger the end game in order to win. And then of course you can pass, but why the heck would you? You only get 2 actions per turn. No idea. Never done it. Don't know why you would. Okay, so they are, and you get 5 of those reference cards, 1 for each player. Playing solo is quite nice. You get to put obviously front and back in front of you. But like I say, you get, like any game that's iconography heavy, when you first play it a couple of times, it's a bit, oh, what's going on? Or even the first game, yeah, you get that immediate sense of overwhelm, or lots of icons, what does everything do? By the end of that first game, you're very comfortable and you're away, right? So that's all good. That's how they work. Showed you the agent cards. So The only other thing then to show you is the well, I'll tell you, there is a bunch of, let's show you the city cards. Just give you a quick look at those. How's it going to act with these? Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Okay, so this is a special city card. There is a Mythos card that says you gain this city card if you get it, and as you can see, it has all of the icons, but you can only act one of those on your turn. But you lose 4 points if this card is obliterated from your hand or discard pile. So if at any point you choose to, or someone else forces you to obliterate this card, that's 4 victory points gone. When you claim the Mythos that gives you this card, however, that gives you 4 victory points. So it's a bit mute, but it gives you a response to insanity. So you take an insanity check after you play this card as part of an action. So if you're going to use it as part of an action, so this kind of really does clog up your hand. It's an interesting one, but it's not a normal city. It's not part of the normal board. It's a specific Mythos that comes out. So what you have in terms of the normal city cards then, in fact, let's just go through. I've organised them in alphabetical order, so I'll just show you them in reverse alphabetical order. Let's turn the green screen off. Okay, so this then, what should the DC? This is where they're going to be either putting up the cultist track, the ritual track by 2, or you're going to play it for influence. There's no actions on any of these cards other than the icons. Okay, St. Louis is where the investigators reign, so they'll get to put their investigator track up by 2 or use it to spend influence. Pittsburgh is again an investigator city, and that's where you'll get to either put up the investigator track or use it for power. New York City is fairly neutral, so it could be either or. So you could use it to either put up investigator track or the ritual track. And similar with New Orleans, so there's an equal balance there of cultists and investigators, so therefore you can choose whether to put up or down any of those. Moving on to Indianapolis, so this is a investigator city, so this is where you can increase investigator by 1. You have the option of taking 2 wealth, and you have the option of an influence token. 3 wealth from Detroit, 2 power from Chicago, 2 influence from Charleston, an influence or a power or increase the ritual track at Boston. We have Atlanta, gaining you wealth or increasing the investigator track by 2, and then finally, of course, Arkham. But that is a game where you, of course, because of all the wisdom and knowledge that is there from a Cthulhu perspective, you do have the opportunity to put up both the investigator track and the ritual track from Arkham. So that's how those cities cards work, and they'll be positioned just here, just to the right of the board. Okay, so that's where the city deck lies, and then up here to the right of the board, did I say left? Right of the board, the other left, is where the Mythos cards go. So there's a whole raft of Mythos cards. So you get things like Imposter. So when you put influence out on this card to claim it, when it comes back round to your turn, if no one else has put any influence on there, or you're the winning influencer, you get to claim this card. And it says claim, place your allegiance card under this card, and ongoing, you are considered to now be of the opposite allegiance of your card. Other players cannot look at or reveal your allegiance card. So if you start out in the game and you get an allegiance card, you think, no, I don't want to play an investigator, I don't want to be a cultist, or vice versa, you could claim that, and that will do that for you. We have Pandemonium. So when you claim this, give this card to another player. Ongoing, give this card to another player after gaining an insanity. This card cannot be given to another player if you would be driven to insanity and triggers the end of the game. So basically, let me just before we proceed any further, as clearly we're getting into the realms of insanity now, you get a bag, a nice little small bag. I say it's little, it's good enough, it's big enough to get your hand in at least. So he says, if I can get it open, there we go. Right, so it's good size. Now what you've actually got in here are 12 insanity tokens. There we go. and they are the green ones here. And then you get you get 6 sanity tokens. So there are actions like closing a gate, like some of the Mythos cards, some of the asset cards. There are numerous ways that you're going to have to go into this bag and pull a token at random. And when you do that, if it's like this and it's a sanity, all good, nothing bad happens, we're okay. If, on the other hand, another sanity, in typical fashion, okay, and if on the other hand you draw an insanity, that gets added to your player board. When you get 3 insanity, you have gone insane. If you are an investigator, you'll reveal your allegiance card. If you're an investigator, the game ends. Okay, you've gone insane, you've lost. If, on the other hand, you're a cultist, then you haven't gone insane because ultimately you're trying to go insane, right? So if you are a cultist, you reveal your cards. You don't get the extra VP at the end of the game, but you may then continue to play as normal. So those things happen when you open, close gates. There are certain Mythos cards, certain asset cards, all sorts of stuff that will cause you to draw insanity. So that is what that card is then referencing. So ongoing effect, give this card to another player after gaining an insanity token. So now this has passed to them. Okay, so that is what happens with that card. So it's a hot potato. What you'll note as well here on the side, it says -3 victory points at the end of the game. So if you're left with this card at the end of the game, it's bad juju. Okay, so we have Migo. So this is the one. No, there's a couple of these actually. A couple of Mythos cards that effectively give you agents that go out on the board. Well, you'll notice when you claim this card, it has an insanity token. So when you claim this card, you do have to check for insanity. After all, we are humans trying to mess with stuff out there we shouldn't be messing with. And you get this special icon. This special icon has a particular set of cards for, here he is. He has his own little agent card with his icon on there. Okay, so that would go out in your control on the board. So claim, place the Migo token on any city space. So anywhere on the board, you can place him out there. And then ongoing, Migo is considered to be a recruited agent. Migo cannot be assassinated, claimed, obliterated, or become a revenant. Revenant means you can flip them over and they can't be assassinated. Other recruited agents, their cards and tokens in the same city as Migo are considered blank and do not add agent influence. So as I mentioned, if you've got an agent in a city and you're trying to claim an asset or a city, they count as 1 extra influence point. Okay, so William Randolph Hearst. So when you claim, you can increase either the Investigator or the Ritual Trap by 2, and then ongoing you get a wealth on your cards may be used as influence. Okay, so that's basically the power, the ability of William Randolph Hearst. We have Diverse Mysterious. So as a free action, so as I mentioned, you get 2 actions for every turn. This card effectively gives you another action. So this is a free action. You may obliterate this card to claim a Mythos or primary asset card with 2 or more of your influence on it. So if you know you're in a bidding war, but actually you really want that particular asset card, this is a way to guarantee that happens. We have the big man himself, Cthulhu. This is worth 2 victory points at the end of the game if you are a cultist, and when you claim this you will have to draw insanity. So when you claim it, you place Cthulhu standee on a city square. So there is a sorry, a minute ago, a Cthulhu standee. Here he is, the big fella himself. So this standee goes out on the board. Love it. Haven't seen him yet. And then move all influence from that city and on its primary asset card to limbo. So there's now no influence there. He's the influencer. Okay. Then alternate all recruited agents, deep ones, and primary asset cards there. Move all main agents to an adjacent city space of your choice. Any player controlling a city loses control of it. And then as an ongoing effect, players cannot place or move agents onto or through the city with the Cthulhu standee or claim that city. Okay, so a nice way to control what's happening out there on a board, particularly if, of course, you are a cultist. I've had this one quite a few times now. I really like this card. So it gives you a random amount of VP. So when you claim it, you add 3 extra Mythos cards to the Mythos stack, and then you go up 1 Investigator track. So this is represented by this item here. So you're unlocking the mysteries. And at the end of the game, you get an extra victory point for each Mythos card that you have claimed, including this one. So that's why it's got that random amount of VP. So it's a really nice card. We've got Disciples, again gives you another free action. Once per turn, you can add influence to city space with one of your agents. We have Yog Shototh. Again, if you are a cultist, you get a victory point in the game. You will have to draw insanity when you claim this card. When you claim it, you gain 1 action. So in addition to claiming it, you've now got another action for the turn, so that's quite nice. And then as an ongoing effect, you may add the first primary asset card you claim each turn to your hand instead of it going to your discard pile. So you get to potentially then play it straight away, right? So you can claim and then do another action. The silver key is ridiculously powerful. Okay, so it's worth 1 victory point. Okay, silver key, ongoing effect. Once you've claimed this, reveal the top card from the cache. So there's a whole deck of cards that are assets that go out on the board. That is the cache. When you play solo play, what you will do is you'll put out 2 assets on each of these cities. That's it. There's no more assets to come out throughout the whole game. Okay, and then you'll flip the top of each one over, and they are the assets that you're initially playing for. And if you claim that asset, you'll turn over the next one, and when you claim that asset, that space is now empty. There's no more assets there. There will, however, still be this great big deck of unclaimed assets. That's what it's referring to there when it's talking about the cache deck. Okay, so after performing a claim action, then choose to obliterate or claim without insanity. Immediately place an agent claimed this way on the city space. Okay, so you reveal the top card on the cache and then choose to either claim it or obliterate it, so remove it from the game without taking any insanity. So even if that card would normally give you insanity, you don't have to take that insanity, and then you get to immediately, if it's an agent, place that agent anywhere on the city. It is a ridiculously powerful card. I guarantee any time in any game when that card comes up in a Mythos stack, that is going to be an absolute influence bidding war. Whoever's got the most cubes available to them at that time is absolutely going to have a field day. Okay, now there are, as you've seen, obviously we've seen Cthulhu. There are Elder One Mythos cards for each of the Elder Ones, and that has an impact when you're playing solo as well. So if during the solo game, if I was playing against the Elder One, the Black Goat, and the Black Goat managed to claim this card with his cultists, then he would gain an extra 3 victory points immediately. Any normal Mythos card he gets that isn't his own particular character, he'll get an extra victory point for. So yeah, it's something else again you want to watch out for. Again, as a cultist, you get an extra victory point, and you'd have to take an insanity when you claim this card. So to claim, you gain an influence from the general supply, so that's quite nice. And then as an ongoing effect, after taking an action to add any influence, you may add another influence to a primary asset card. So not the same one, it could be any other primary asset card across the board, so that's great. So we have Dagon, again another Elder One. So claim, add the influence that you would move to limbo by claiming this card to a primary asset card or city space instead. And as an ongoing effect, you may claim this. You may claim cards where you are tied for influence. At the end of the game, you win all ties, drawing, scoring. So again, it's just this particular Elder One's power is equaling that balance in the fight for stuffs. We have an offering, so it gives you a free action. And these will sit, obviously these don't go into your decks. You're not going to be pulling these round after round and waiting for them to be shuffled right round again. These then permanently sit next to your tableau, if you like. So this is always active. So as a free action, once per turn, you may discard 1 asset card from your hand to draw 1 asset card. So it's a nice way, particularly if you've got one of those, base asset cards that only have a single icon on, and it's not the one you want for that turn, it's a good one. You can just cycle that stuff through, right? The weeklies, I've seen these come up once but haven't had a chance to play them yet. Again, when you claim them, you gain an insanity. Or you go in a sanity bag. So claim, place the Weekly tokens face up on this card. Ongoing, flip one Weekly token face down to gain its resources as part of an action. And then as an action, flip all face down Weeklies face up. Okay. So again, potentially another way to gain extra resources. We have the Danvers Estate. So this is worth 1 victory point, whether you are Cultist or Investigator. So when you claim, return 1 insanity to the bag, or choose any one player to have to go into the bag to draw, to do a sanity test. Nice. We have Herbert West. 1 victory point with your Cultist and Investigator, and again go into his sanity bag. So ongoing, you may claim and receive agents you assassinate. Place agents claimed this way, because of course he is the reanimator, on the same city in which they were assassinated. Love that, absolutely love that. So Cultist victory point, go in the insanity bag. Nyarlathotep, Nyarlathotep. So claim, you get to place 2 lock tokens. It's all about that control out on the board. And there's an ongoing effect. You may claim cards and cities with locks, and remove locks when you do. So that's quite nice. And it's just a great way to be able to control what is happening out there on the board. Henry Armitage. So when you claim him, you get to increase your investigator track by 1, and as an ongoing, you get to increase your hand size limit to 6 instead of 5. I've had that a couple of times now. It is incredibly powerful. If you imagine you're drawing 5 cards and you've only started with a deck of 10, having that 6th card draw makes such a difference. It really does. Okay, Haster. Again, 1 point for the Cultist, going to invest the insanity bag. So when you claim, reveal cards to the top of the cash deck until an agent is revealed. Claim that agent and place it on any city space. As an ongoing effect, your recruited agent card gains Assassinate and may also use it to assassinate revenants. So remember I mentioned if your agent goes revenant, then they can't be assassinated. So Nikola Tesla, again you're going to have to test for insanity. Ongoing, gain 1 action the first time you claim a card on your turn. So that's quite nice. So every time you claim a card. Carl Jung. So when you claim him, you may give this card to another player, and as an ongoing effect, you require 5 insanity to be driven insane instead of 3. So, of course, you may give this card to another player, but if you've identified, someone else is an investigator working with you, they're part of your team effectively. This could be a real lifesaver in avoiding them coming plumb last and you both losing the game. J. Edgar Hoover. As a free action, once per turn, you may place 1 asset card from your hand on this card face down, or return all cards placed here back into your hand. As an ongoing effect, there cannot be more than 3 asset cards on this card. You may look at these cards at any time. So again, it's a great way to get those really basic cards out of your hand, out of your deck, so you're able to pull your more powerful cards, particularly when you start getting those cities, as I mentioned. I found them personally to be something of a clog, certainly in the solo game. Ceremony, I've not seen this one yet. So claim, reveal the top 3 Mythos cards and choose 1 to claim. Obliterate this card and the unchosen Mythos cards. Then increase the ritual or investigator track. Whichever track is lower, if tied, you get to choose. Or maybe I did see that one. Maybe I have seen that one. And then here we go. This was the other one, Lost City. So you claim the Rely City asset card and immediately gain 4 victory points. And this is the one I was saying earlier. So you get this, but should that card be obliterated, then you lose 4 victory points. Okay, so that's what. So that is the entirety of the Mythos deck. That is all the cards that you will see any given game. Generally, you might see, certainly playing solo, I might see about a third. Excuse me. Might see about a third of those cards. And it helps to add to the variety of the game. Yeah. I think I'm about exhausted. So apologies. Just to show you then, finally, like I said, there's a whole stack of asset cards. But just to show you the elder ones, should you be playing solo, what you'll be up against here is, so the Dagon, for example, this is the next one I'll be playing against solo, and I'll go through a playthrough. So the Elder One's goal in this instance is Dagon immediately wins once the ritual track is 8 or more spaces ahead of the Investigator track. That's going to be a really interesting one for me. So, as I said, you've got these 2 tracks, Investigator and the ritual track. Primarily, I've ignored the Investigator track and just let the ritual track do its thing, because there's just no point, trying to spend cards to do these when I could be spending cards to close portals, which are much more VP than those, or claim cities, which will still VP from the cultist and gain them to me. So that is going to switch that focus, and that's going to be really interesting. So yes, I'm really keen to see how my gameplay changes, and that's one of the things that I've really liked actually about playing solo, is each of the Elder Ones goals is so different. It's so unique. So I've played now against Hasta, for example. So Hasta immediately wins once he has claimed 4 or more agents. That is really easy to control. When you've got those locks that you can put out there and you lock, primary asset agent locked, primary asset agent locked, primary asset agent, oh, I want that one, so I'm going to put the influence on there. It's really easy to control that, and I think he maybe had 1 agent by the time I'd come to the end of the game, so I thrashed Hasta. Let's have a look. Yeah, Nyarlathotep I did lose against. So this one was much harder to control against. So he immediately wins once 5 or more gates have been opened. That is much harder to control because the cultists are moving randomly, fairly randomly around the board. And it's random as to which city they end up in at the time when then they're going to try and produce enough power to close a gate. So they do have to have enough power to be able to compete. So if they end up in, New York City or Chicago where they've got 6 power, often they won't get to open a gate there. But if they end up in Arkham where it's only 2 power for that city, or somewhere like Charleston it's only 3 power for that city, and the majority of the locations on the board are 3 power, then 4, that's much easier for the cultists to be able to control those gates. And I found that one, yeah, very, very challenging. So even though I was way ahead on the victory points, what I would have needed to do, and I was close to doing, I think I was 5 victory points off it, was I had to trigger the end game. So I had to get all 35 victory points. And the challenge for the Investigator is, when you're playing solo, and in fact when you're playing multiplayer as well, when you claim and when you open a portal or close a portal, you don't get those points until the end of the game, but they're locked. Okay, so I can't open a portal that's been closed, I can't close a portal that's been opened. Okay, so they are locked, one and done. But you don't get to claim those points until the end of the game, so you've got to keep a mental count ahead of what's happening. So you would put a claim you would put a open or close token on there to indicate that it's been opened or closed. So you get these wonderfully vibrant pink or green tokens that you put out, so it's really obvious, is it closed, is it open? And then you'd also put out your colors influence, not influence token, well, kind of, yeah, an influence token. It's your player color token, right? So that everyone knows that it was you who enacted those. You're going to get those points at the end of the game. Okay, When you claim a city, you're going to put your points out, but cities are easily influenced and will switch control. So I would instantly get those 4 VP, so that's 8 VP. I would move up one of my tokens on my track, so I'd go from 0 to 8 because I've claimed those cities. I don't get those victory points until the end of the game, and then if someone else then comes along and they take that and they put their points, I would then lose those 4 victory points and they would gain those 4 victory points. So that's all happening real time. So there's a really interesting kind of area control mechanic that is happening live as you're playing. Now when you're playing solo, the city rules apply for you as a player. So if the cultists and the elder one claim a city, then you really want to be putting the influence token back. And again, remember, you only have to put a single influence token there, and on your turn you'll get to claim that city, boot them off, and you'll get to put your victory point, your token there. They go down in victory points, you go up in victory points. Great. The catch is you as the player only gain the portals points at the end of the game, as you would do in a normal multiplayer game. The cultists, however, the elder one, they gain their points straight away. Always. Yeah, so they start on 6 points because they start with 2 cultists with their identities concealed, and there'll be a point where you can flip those over, so you can either assassinate them, or they might draw an insanity from the bag and they might end up assassinating themselves. But then they lose those points real time, 3 points a pop, as they flip over. They're slightly less powerful as well when you do that. So there is an incentive game-wise to do that, not just from a VP perspective, but also from a game mechanic, what you're facing up against. One of them is more powerful, the other one's more influential. So that's the way the 2 cultists operate. But ultimately, they're both going around trying to open portals, claim cities, claim assets, claim Mythos cards, the same as you are. The mechanics work really well, very simple, as I'll demonstrate in another video. So they work really well, but yeah, it's something you have to balance, right? Because like I say, the city VP is real time, the portal VP is real time for the AI. It's not real time for you. So if you're trying to trigger the end game at 35 points, and you know, great, I've got all these points banked up because I've closed these portals, you may never get to see those points. So you do need to bear that in mind, and that was something that I forgot to bear in mind, or certainly didn't do when I was playing up against Nyarlathotep. So the Black Gate, I think I've played this one as well against now. So the Black Gate immediately wins once it has claimed 4 or more cards with any insanity type. Yeah, and again, really easy control, right? If the Elder Ones is all about gaining cards, it's an influence battle, right? It's a bidding war. So they're either going to be Mythos cards, they're going to be cities, they're going to be primary assets. And it means you've got an equal fair crack at those cards than they do, right? So although it may be random for them to put stuff out, when they put stuff out, they don't get to claim that stuff until the next turn, which gives you a turn to then counter claim that stuff, providing you've got enough influence, or you can lock it. And that means they cannot then claim it. So yeah, I did win. I think I won against the Black Goat. Okay, so that leaves us just 2 more Elder Ones that you'll play against in solo. We have Cthulhu. So Cthulhu immediately wins once 5 or more city spaces have no remaining primary asset cards. Again, that can be a bit trickier. So as I mentioned, when you're playing solo, there's only 2 asset cards in each of these. Yeah, and as you're claiming, and as the cultists are claiming, these empty up. But 5 is quite a number. I think I've seen maybe 4 locations being emptied, so that's quite a long game for 5 to be emptied. So that's not too bad, that's doable. And then Yog Sothoth, who I've not played against yet, so he immediately wins once it claims 5 or more Mythos cards, and again it's a card grab, so that's easier to control. Now what you'll notice as well with each of these cards, and I won't go back through all the others, but each of them has different things that they're getting their cultists, their followers, to enact for them as well. So in this case, for Yog Sothoth, Cultist 1 receives all of its influence from Limbo, and then adds 1 influence influence to each available Mythos card if able. Wow. So you can see now how challenging that is to try and control against when he's trying to put all those Mythos cards. He's just going out and adding influence to all of those Mythos cards. Okay, so that's really powerful. And then Cultist 2, when you act the Cultist 2, he's going to claim a primary asset card, if able, and adds this Cultist influence from that card to an available Mythos card. So you're going to claim a primary asset card, if able, and then adds the Cultist influence from that card to an available Mythos card. Okay, so otherwise he adds influence to an available Mythos card. Okay, so the way it works, if I just show you, not that deck. Where, oh where, oh where have they gone? Around here somewhere. Ah, here we go. Okay, so the way the AI works then is you're going to draw a card. So this is a Cultist Behaviour card. So I've got 2 Cultists out on the map. And I'm going to draw this card, and it says Cultist number 1. So I'll allocate them 1 and 2. Cultist number 1 is going to claim a primary asset card. So if there's any assets around the board where Cultist number 1 has got more influence than me, or maybe there's no other influence on that card, he will then claim that card. It doesn't have to be where it is. And then he's going to add influence to its city. So wherever it is on the board, he's going to add influence cubes there. Okay, and then Cultist 2 will claim a city. Yeah, so again, he will look all around the board, and if he's got any of his cubes on any of the city locations and he's the primary person there, he will claim those. Those influence cubes will go to limbo, and he will get to claim that city. And then the card says he will then assassinate. So if he's in the same city as my character here, and I've scored 5 victory points or more, he can then try and assassinate me, and that will then be a power. So it's 4 power in St. Louis. So he would then look at this card has got 3 power. So he would look at how much power that's got. And then he would add his own power to that as well. So this is Cultist number 2, and you'll see Cultist number 2 has 2 power, so that gives him 5 power. So he would easily beat the power in St. Louis, and in fact most of the cities. Now, as I say, when he's unrevealed, he gets those extra 2 power. Once you've revealed him, so you've assassinated him, it drops down to only 1 power. So it does make a difference. And of course, as I say, he does lose that 3 victory points at the end. Well, in fact, immediately. So that's kind of gives you an idea in a nutshell how the solo works in terms of the combination of the elder gods and all their different nuances combined with their cultists that are out enacting their will and influence upon the world, as it were, across the board. Yeah, I found it to be a really interesting puzzle. Like I say, there's nuances to each of the elder ones. So the powers that you saw on the elder one card, they only occur. When the cultist behaviour card specifically says. So performs its cultist effect. So the cultist effect is what's written on the Elder One card. So that only comes up once for Cultist 1 and once for Cultist 2 in their deck, and when both of them have been played, you'll then shuffle these back up and you'll start again. So it's a bit like getting the 3 summoning symbols. When they're all out, then you shuffle the deck and you start again. It's got that kind of an element to it from an AI perspective. Works really, really well. I found it to be a really interesting challenge. And like I say, I will do a playthrough recording, but hopefully that's given you a good idea. It's quite a long idea of the contents that come in terms of the cities and what they do for you, and the Mythos cards. I went through all of those, and the Elder ones. I went through all of those. You've got an inkling as to how the AI cultists work, but like I say, I'll do a full playthrough of the AI from a solo play, so you'll get to see that. I've moved back in the office. I've put some stuff on the lights. I'm hoping that that's really helped to cut down some of the glare issues that I was having in the past. It's really weird for me because it's actually quite dark now where I'm sat, but it doesn't look like that on the camera, so that's good. Hopefully it just means I can still see everything. So, no, thank you as always for watching. I hope you have found it interesting. Obviously, I've seen some various sort of unboxing and reviews and whatnot. I haven't necessarily seen something going into this level of depth, so hopefully it's given you a good understanding of a bit more of the depth of how to play. Like I say, I don't know why I found the rules particularly difficult to get. They're not particularly difficultly written. And like I say, for every action, there's a great example for everything. So it's really easy to understand. But for some reason, I found the rulebook particularly hard to read and digest. I don't know why. But once it's there, it is an incredibly simple game. It is great to play, certainly solo. It's a really nice puzzler. And I'm really excited to play it multiplayer because I do think it'll be tremendous fun. Certainly the games that I've seen online of multiplayers have come across certainly to be that. So yeah, I'll do a solo playthrough and record that. Now my computer's back up and running. So yeah, apologies for my time away. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, then please do hit that like. If you want to see more of this content, please do hit subscribe. It does encourage me. Yeah, otherwise, just say as always, thanks for watching, and ta-ta for now.